Hi, it's Angie with News OK. I'm here with Sherrel Jones, and we're talking about different melons that you can have for the summer, right?
Yes.
And you're supposed to slap them.
I got this email from a watermelon expert a couple of weeks ago, and it said, never thump a melon. And boy, did that get my attention. And because I'd always been trying to thump these melons and figure out what it was. And they suggested slapping the melon instead.
Because what are we listening for?
We're listening for a hollow sound. And that tells us that it's ripe, supposedly. And I've always thought choosing a melon was kind of like looking at a book without being able to read anything on the cover, that you just can't tell by the surface. And this is still not totally foolproof. It still is a little bit of a surprise.
Now this one has a stem.
Okay, this still has a stem. Now this stem, I think, is just a tad green, but it's fairly dead, and that is an important clue. You want to be sure the stem is dead. You'll see some in the store that have a very green, full stem. Those are generally not as ripe as they could be.
Interesting.
You can, of course, get one that's overripe. Don't be afraid of this sort of yellowy part. That's where the melon was sitting on the ground in the field.
And you're going to need a sharp knife to use
it.
Okay.
And I use a fairly large chef's knife for it, or you can use one even bigger than this. And so we're going to do it. I'm going to show you a couple of things, and you can go either way depending on how much room. If you don't have much lateral space in your refrigerator where you're going to store it, there are a couple of solutions to that. You want to slice it across the narrow part because it takes up less room. But some people have little narrow shelves in between, in which case you'll want to slice it this way. So you can do it either way. I'm going to do it this way. And that is a fabulous sound. Did you hear it?
I
know.
It
went like this.
That's
it had that. And to me, it almost wants to split a head of the knife. To me, that says, wow.
That's
a
good
great melon.
Well, good.
So, and you can smell it. You can start. Can you smell the? I'm sorry that our viewers can't, but you can smell that. It's one of the sweetest sounds of watermelon season. I think is for it to do that.
Wow.
And it makes
Cuts right through.
Oh yes. Now this is one of those melons that has few seeds. Now it's not quite as red as I would like, and I'm not quite. See how this is a little, that could have been the fact that this stem was still a little green. So to me this is a little green, but you can still salvage a lot from this melon, even though it's not worth me loading it back up in the car and taking it back to the store at the price of fuel these days.
I know it.
But I want to show you one of the coolest things, and you can use almost any ice cream scoop. If you don't have a melon baller, do this.
There you go.
And then it keeps well. You don't have to store the whole big thing, and you can keep it in a covered container. What's important to know with watermelon is that it absorbs other flavors in your refrigerator. So you do not want to put that in there with just one little piece of saran wrap across or plastic wrap across the top.
Now that's interesting. I'm so used to just cutting a watermelon. I love that.
Well, especially for something like this where you have something that's that way. And we know this center part is going to be really good. And you can also cut it. And I do this. I used to do this for my children. And I do it if I send my husband's lunch with him to the office most all of the time. And so I cut up the melon ahead of time because that takes up too much room. And notice here, instead of just cutting this on the kitchen counter, I've got a big tray that's going to catch all this juice.
That's true.
And if you don't have a big tray to use or something, you can use a cookie sheet. You can also spread the counter with newspaper. You can also do this method if you don't have the ice cream scoop. Now we've gotten our knife nice and sharp, so it just goes right through.
That's amazing,
And see, I like to do this.
Oh, yum. Oh, yeah.
See how quickly.
Great slices.
And you've got all these little chunks of melon, and that's great. It can go in a salad. That's why you want to have the shower curtain approach.
Not really.
We've brought along a honeydew and a cantaloupe. And they have their own ways of telling when they're ripe. And one of the most important things to do, and we already did this on our watermelon, was to take the surface of the melon and wash it with a rag that you've had, that you have a little soapy water, and you clean it really well. When choosing a honeydew, and we're not going to go ahead and slice this one today, one of the things, this is the blossom end, and this is the stem end.
Okay.
Well, that's cut off nicely, but the blossom end, you notice, gives just a little bit, and the other important consideration with the honeydew is there's just that faint honeydew aroma. So that's the way you choose it. And these are going to be, I had trouble finding these in the store.
Involved.
No slapping involved. You want it to be relatively heavy. If it's very lightweight, steer away from it. Same way with watermelons. You want the heaviest one for its relative size.
Sure.
Because that's how it works.
And we have
best.
one more, right?
One more. We have cantaloupe. Now these you might want to, in some cases, you may want to actually take a scrub brush to in your sink with sudsy water before you slice it.
Make sure any of the pesticides and bacteria.
Oh, absolutely.
Is off.
That came out of that field. And so then you get it nice and clean before you slice into it. Now I have a special way to, I'm going to put these aside, a special way that I like to do cantaloupe. And it makes it, for me, it makes it a lot easier to slice. I take the end off, and again, you want to check the blossom end. If it gives slightly, it should smell like cantaloupe. If that melon in the store does not smell like cantaloupe,
Don't do it.
don't pick it up. Don't bother, because it's going to be flavorless.
Sure.
And then also look for one that's very round and that doesn't have a lot of blemishes or soft spots. Very important with cantaloupe.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take the top side, and again, I'm going to slice off the end down to where I'm getting the cantaloupe flesh. And then this is the way I like to do it. This gets my melon right down to the part that I want to eat.
Oh,
doesn't that smell good? And
It
you should be
does.
starting to enjoy the aroma of the nice fresh
know.
cantaloupe by now.
my stomach is starting to growl.
Well, this is so much fun. I love these. And this is, to me, the crowning glory of summer are these wonderful melons. Now, again, the ice cream scoop
There we go.
is the most awesome way I find to
That's great.
to get the seeds out of the center. You know, this melon is a little different in that it comes with the seeds in the center part of it. So there we've got all the peeling, and that'll just be discarded. But the best way to get this out, and it makes great compost incidentally, is to take your melon ball scooper and go right down in the heart of that where all the seeds are, and let that little end cut away where the seeds are connected to the flesh.
There we go.
There you go. And then you can slice it any way you choose. You could leave it like this and put it in the refrigerator and then save slicing it. You could cut it in chunks.
Right.
You can even use a melon baller on it and get the rest out. But I like to use the ice cream scoop because it cuts a bigger area than the melon baller.
Okay.
So there you go.
That's wonderful.
Nice cantaloupe. If you get one that's super ripe, you might want to serve it with some lime juice, a little section of lime or lemon to
Oh, that's beautiful.
make the flavors. So
I love it.
I hope you have some great melons this summer.
Oh,
and this will help you
definitely.
pick some good ones.
Exactly. For more on Sherrel's column to talk about summer fruit, all kinds of melons, you can read more in the Oklahoman in the food section and on newsok.com. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.